What up, y'all? Appreciate you showing up, hanging out, listening to my dumb ass. Like and subscribe. So, I want to give a couple shout outs from yesterday's video. First, Adidas 20 thanks. I see you in the comments. I see you. I salute, sir. I appreciate you coming through. You know, I see you in the other shows and stuff, but I appreciate. And a short little story, not about Adidas, but I was watching a dirt show, the stream last night, and they were like, everybody was chipping in to give him some money for the Rogue Ally X, and I was like, oh snap, I wanted to do that because I definitely want to start giving to these shows, and so I'm sitting here trying to put my credit card in front, like I had to update my credit card, but I was like, no, I want to switch it, and then I was like, wait, what's the Google thing? Because I don't use it that much. I don't buy stuff on Play. So I was like, my credit card was like, and by the time I got it right and ready, it was like, he had already gotten off the stream. I was like, oh man, I missed it. So I'll probably get him next week and hit him up with some cash. But they did the same thing for Sean today too, so that was pretty dope. But anyway, the other shout out was Paris, Mr. Paris Lilly. I appreciate. He came through in the comments and he basically, because I had said in the video, I was like, yo, I got beef with Paris. And then he's like, I'm here for the beef. I was like, uh-oh. I was like, oh no, I've woken the giant. I've woke a sleeping giant. I made him mad. I made the internet smacker. He smacks fools through the internet. He don't play. I enjoy when Paris comes through and goes slap, and I'm like, oof, and it's almost like an art form for him. I think he enjoys it. I don't think he's like looks forward to it, but like when he has to do it, he's like, let me smack some fools up. So he's like, I did my workout for today. I don't need to go to the gym. I just smack some fools through the internet. Anyway, we were discussing. Basically, well, what I was saying in the video was that it's an Xbox, basically. And I said console, the word console is semantic. It's semantics. And so what I've come to the conclusion, and what I believe he said as well, is that the definition of a console for Xbox and Microsoft is changing, and it is changing to what the first he put it this way, which is perfect. Phase 1, which is the ROG Xbox Ally and Ally X. That is phase 1, meaning the hardware is phase 1. Hardware works. Okay, we got the NPU in there because we want an NPU in the other console. Blah blah blah. So it basically is like a prototype, a test bed for future consoles that Xbox will be making, first party and I guess OEM, third party if they decide to do that for the under the TV stuff. And so when he put it that way, I was like, yes, that makes sense. And I did allude to that yesterday, as far as like the risk involved in just going and doing the hardware themselves, but by teaming up with ASUS, that way they don't have to put all the financial burden on themselves, and everybody can make money. And they can see what happens. They can see how us, the public, react to the device and just go get it or not get it. And so far, it seems like it's popping off. And the thing is like okay, it's positive. People are liking it for the most part. And there's still some negative news people out there, but that's their shtick. They have to do that to pay the bills. And so. And there are smart people at Microsoft. They understand this, but it still doesn't help Microsoft. And the fact that it is that way is unfortunate because ultimately it harms video games as a whole. When you're targeting one part of the sector, and it diminishes their value. Well, not their value, but it would if they were on equal footing with PlayStation. Then they would be diminished because of what's going on. But, when you look at the numbers of the people who are playing games, it's almost equal. Even though PlayStation has 80 million versus Xbox is 42 or whatever it is, more than half or about 2 to 1. But the player count on each side, on each console, is almost the same, equal. So that means something's fishy going on PlayStation side. But anyway, doing this experiment, if you will, or I guess a prototype version, not a prototype version, but this is kind of a test bed for what their future plans would be and how a future console will be, how it will act, how it will perform, how it will behave. And if you think about back Genesis and SNES, right? What was it? You had the box, you slap it in, you turn it on, you play the game, right? Only, what was it? I think the PlayStation had menus, right? I can't remember. I booted up my PlayStation like once because there was Gex in it. Somebody left Gex in it. It's a pristine version of Gex in my PlayStation 1. But once the discs came, like Saturn had kind of a menu. It was like a CD menu screen, and then you had to put it in a game disc, or you put in a music CD, and then that's what you did, right? Very basic. But then when the Dreamcast came around, then it had a whole bunch of different menus. You get a little clock, you got different sub menus and stuff. It's like, oh, by the way, I'm gonna call it the Xbox Zero. Is basically an Xbox. Had a Microsoft Windows on the Dreamcast. For all you people who out there who's like, oh, Windows, blah, blah, blah. It's a Windows, it's a PC. Yeah, Dreamcast was a PC. It literally says it on the front of the console, Windows CE. It says it right there. Does that make that a PC? It did have a keyboard. I believe I had the keyboard with it. So, it's all these different things, It's like, anyway. So the experiment but the experiment for both hardware and software has begun. The new path forward for Microsoft and Xbox is what we see in this first device and the first UI OS, the FSE, right? And so as we continue down this video game history path in the future, we'll see them update it. We'll see how the FSE evolves, and we'll see how the hardware evolves, and we'll see how the industry evolves. I don't see there isn't a negative about this. And I think one of the reasons why the Donkey Unicorns and the Ponies are so kind of sad, mad, everything in between, is because they're not seeing the same kind of forward momentum, the forward kind of thought of experimentation and evolution and not iteration, but just leaps of technology implemented into their ecosystem. Now, their next console will be more powerful than their last console, yes. That's Mark Cerny sitting there saying, oh, we're going to find a way to compress everything more, and so it'll be better for everything. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Mark Cerny's a very smart guy. He can make stuff happen. That's fine. And for the overall industry, sure. But it's still a closed ecosystem. And so I look at it this way. Sony has always tried to be what Apple is. A closed ecosystem, charge a whole bunch of money, and just have a captive audience, right? Microsoft was forced back in the day to make Windows an open platform because of monopoly scares, and everybody's like, it's going to be a monopoly. Windows is on everything, blah, 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 monopoly for computers. And they're like, okay, it's an open platform. There you go, boom. They were forced. The FTC forced them, right? And it's worked out for them, except they failed to take advantage. And then Gabe Newell came through. He was working at Microsoft, and he says, I'm out. And then he made his own thing. Steam, boom, boom, boom. History. And so, but now Microsoft sees the error of their ways, and they are basically making strives to make Xbox as open as Windows, if that makes sense. So all of the open freedom that they say of Windows, except consoleized. And that's kind of like the tagline, right? And so I'm like, okay, that sounds good. because I have a handful of Steam games. And that will honestly, when that console comes to my house and I slap it under my TV and I press the button and it turns on and it's on my big TV and it's all FSE all over the place, I'm gonna go on Steam and I'm gonna get me some games, because not all Steam has the most games. Okay, just be real. All the games are on Steam, not all of them, but there are. I forgot what the number is. It's so many games, and so I'm like, and there's a bunch of indie games, a bunch of free little games. Our game's gonna be on Steam eventually when it comes out. Not sure when that is, but so, and that's actually a cool thing about that, is that I can play. I believe I should be able to play the version that I have access to on Steam, because I can play it on my PC, obviously, through Steam. So I have to do an experiment with ask Rafa and see what the deal. Rafa is our programmer, so we'll see if I can play that on my Xbox. I can play my game on my Xbox. Our game, not my game. Our game. I just do the music and the sound, so it doesn't really feel like. I mean, I make the bleeps and the bloops and stuff, but I guess that's important. Anyway, so the way that I'm looking at what's going on in the future, and then all of these donkey unicorns and these ponies are trying to run interference on what's happening. And honestly, they can say all they want to say, and they can try to damage the brand all they want to, but the bottom line is the bottom line. And if a device, if a product is hot and people want to buy it, and the zeitgeist happens and it pops off, it doesn't matter what these little voices on the internet say. They're gonna go out, and all those people saw that Good Morning America. They're like, yo, it's a handheld, let's get it. And they didn't say, oh my gosh, it's $1,000, that's too much money. They didn't say that in GMA. They didn't say that in Good Morning America. They just said, matter of fact, the big one's $1,000, the little one's $599. Let's go. Well, they said $999, $599, right? And so, people around America, good morning, they're gonna be like, oh, I get the little cheapy one or whatever, Let them make up their own minds. Let the casuals spend their money how they want to spend their money. But the point is that Good Morning America is not clouded and polluted by those Twitter streams and the Twitter feeds and all that stuff. It's just TV, old-fashioned TV, even though I watched it through a browser. And, it's I mean, we see it like every day. We see them running interference. We see all the negative news and stuff. And like I said before, it's part of their shtick, because they need to do that in order to get the clicks, in order to bad news is good news for them, because they get the clicks and they get paid. I'm not saying they're grifters. I'm just saying that's just the machine of how most of these people out here on the internet who are required to get clicks, to get paid, to feed their families, they get clicks by any means necessary. And so now, I mean, for a while it's been negative news about Xbox. And so, I mean, it's negative news in general. Everybody loves bad news. Nobody loves good news, and that's a whole nother problem. I was watching. Here comes a tangent. I was watching a couple of clips. I was watching someone react to, I guess it was a Mr. Rogers. Maybe it's a documentary or something, but it was just a couple of clips of Mr. Rogers. So like when back in, I guess it was 69. I forgot, whatever year, back in the day when Mr. Rogers had all black hair, basically. And he sat in front of, I guess, Congress or somebody, the important lawmaker people, and he's trying to get funding for his show, basically. And because he works with kids, and I guess he was a child psychologist, I believe. And it was interesting because, we see Mr. Rogers, and he was like, it's so big, like older. He was on, I guess, the Charlie Rose show or whatever show it was, getting interviewed, and he was gray. And he's like, yeah, there's so much noise. I think this was in the 80s, basically. So much noise out there. I can't do a Mr. Rogers. I'm not doing a Mr. Rogers impersonation, so sorry. But he's like, there's so much noise out there. Why can't we just sit down to face and embrace the quiet? And all these, and I was like, And everything he said, he was such a wise person. And I listened to what he said. I was like, yeah, we should do that sometimes. We can't do it now because the internet and stuff. And that's where I said, Good Morning America doesn't technically exist on Twitter like that. And so when people go to watch that, they're not like watching it on Twitter. They're not distracted. They're looking through their news feed or whatever. Or it's on cable too. So some people still have cable. I went to a hotel recently, and I was like, what is this? I was like flipping through channels. I was like, oh my gosh. Oh wow. HBO. it was like a throwback. I was like, man, this is but it's the new age is just on demand, VODs and all that good stuff. VODs on demand, that's a little redundant. Anyway, yeah. So that's how I see like the ROG and the future consoles that Xbox is putting out. Now, what PlayStation does, look, I've said it. I said they lack creative. They have zero creative juices left in their bodies and in their mindset. I don't know. They copy and they paste. They copy. They find what's trendy and they copy to their detriment because they tried the live service thing, failed. Don't never forget Concord. I'm sorry, I forgot last video to mention that Concord was the worst failure in video game history. That's a big deal. I don't think we should ever forget how big a deal that is. The biggest failure in video game history. I'm sorry. And so they don't have any creative bone left in their bodies over their PlayStation. And so they copy, right? They copy. What were the rumors? Oh, PlayStation is going to have a little guy that docks, like the Switch, and then a regular console, like what we've been doing forever and ever, right? And so I'm like, that's not going to be enough. Because how they have, been, I guess, successful is to migrate their same customers from generation to generation. The problem is that there are going to be more options. And when you look at, well, first off, the Xbox is coming out before the PlayStation. So that's bad for them. It's the 360 all over again. If Xbox gets the jump and they have the better console, or they'll have, from the leaks, they're going to have the better console. It'll be, we'll see. But anyway, if they get the jump on them, people, it's like what's happening right now with the ROG Xbox Ally X, right? There's nothing else. The Steam Machine and Legion Go 2, there's other stuff out there, yes. But Xbox and ROG Ally slammed together in the Voltron state is a more recognizable name brand. Nobody like casuals or computer people, they know Legion Go, Lenovo, and they know the MSI Claw because of the they know those names. But the ROG Ally is proven. They've had one before, and now this one is even better. So people who want to upgrade, who got that money, want to upgrade, and you want a better, it's an upgrade plus, it's an Xbox plus, it's a better UI plus, it's all. And I've heard all the complaints that, oh yeah, the old ROG, the UI sucked, but now this one is really good, it's smooth, it's fast, it's all responsive, blah, 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 all that stuff. Cool. And so, but PlayStation doesn't have that. They have, it feels like they're just A, copying Nintendo, and B, doing the same old. And the problem, ultimately, the main problem with what PlayStation's strategy is that it's the closed ecosystem. And so the only thing that they have going for them is that new device will be backwards compatible back to the PlayStation 4. That's it. And is that enough? It's not enough for people who are diehard PlayStation fans because they have all these games. I'm sure, yeah, you can go play the old games. I can play a bunch of old games on my Xbox Series X. I don't, because we got a whole bunch of new games coming out. And that's the other part of it. Sony doesn't have the lineup or the cadence to feed a new console like that. They'll have maybe handful of games at launch and stuff, but they don't have the bandwidth. Not like Xbox. Xbox, like, in the next couple of weeks, we got like 4 games coming out. Like, whatchamacallit came out today, Keeper. Next week is Ninja Gaiden. The week after that is Avowed, I believe. And then Call of Duty. It's like, what are we? It's like, I don't have a PlayStation because I don't need a PlayStation. Because I'm full. My belly is full. Get in my belly. I'm going to eat you. I'm full of games. The games are spilling out of my ears. So much games. It's so delicious. Num, 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 num. Eating all the games. Num, 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 num. Do you taste that? Num, 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 num. I taste it. Num, 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 num. Sorry. But, yo, it's like, I was like, oh, damn. It's like, that's, okay. And then, next year, I mean, look, Forza, I'm buying that. I have Game Pass paid up until April or something like that. I think I'm going to get another 6 months to make it a nice round year. But I'm going to buy that because I'm like, I've been waiting for Tokyo. That's the joint. I'm going to buy that. I'm going to buy all the DLC. Let's go. That's the one I'm going to splurge on. And then Fable. I'll probably buy that one too because Fable's like, I have Fable. I know I have Fable 1. Do I have Fable 2 on disc? I'm trying to remember. I mean, I've got them digitally, but I definitely have 1 because that Danny Elf. That's the main reason why I bought the first Fable is because Danny Elfman did the theme. He didn't do all the music. He just did the theme for the beginning. I was like, oh man, I'm a super Danny Elfman fan. Danny Elfman can, even the movies that I'm like, wait, Danny Elfman did that movie? He did okay, so if y'all don't know, little bit of a tangent. Danny Elfman did the soundtrack for the first Mission Impossible movie. Right. You don't think the dude who did Beetlejuice and freaking Fable and Beetlejuice. What else was? Danny Elfman did a lot of music. The Simpsons theme, that's Danny Elfman. He did a bunch of stuff. But he did that one. And I was like, it is so good because it's like, it's Danny Elfman, but it's not like his typical like Beetlejuice and what is some of his other famous Batman? I forgot Batman and Batman Returns. You know, it's not the same Danny Elfman that is, and that's why I like it because I was like, okay, he got the Mission Impossible theme in there, but then there's other tracks in there, like especially at the end where the helicopter's in the tunnel with the train and with the red light and green light, red light, gum stuff. And I was like, yo, I was like, okay, this is, yeah, all right, Danny Elfman, one of the GOATs. He's in the top 10, definitely. Danny Elfman. Anyway, tangent. But yeah, I've rambled enough. I've tangented enough. I appreciate y'all hanging out, like and subscribe. Let me know in the comments below what you think about kind of the trajectory of Xbox in particular, what they're doing, how you feeling. What are you feeling now that a lot of people have gotten their hands on this new device, the Xbox ROG Ally X? And you know, are you interested in getting one or whatever? And do you think Sony can compete with what Xbox is doing? They're changing the game. They're changing the rules of the game. They're changing the definition of the things inside the game. They're changing the industry in many different ways. And I think a lot of people are old heads and they're scared of change. And I'm here for it. I'm like, this looks like some fun. We gonna have some fun. We gonna have some fun. We gonna have some fun. Anyway, I'll talk to you on the next one. Tiltowait.